Hi, this is Richard Ramos. Welcome back. So, we've gone through the first 4 principles on the 10 things that you absolutely must know in order to prevent your children from joining gangs or other negative lifestyles. Now we're going to go into principle 5, which was one of my favorites, as I told you from the beginning. It's a Parent on a Mission slogan, and here it is. The first family is not in the White House, it's in my house. How do you like that? We love teaching that to parents because it gives them a sense and an understanding of the importance of their role and helping children understand that our family is the first family. So let me say it again. The first family is not in the White House, it's in my house, or it's in your house. And another thing I always like to teach the wives in the classes is now they can go home and tell their husbands, you know what I learned from Richard Ramos today in Parents on a Mission? I learned that the First Lady is not in the White House, she's in your house. And then that always gives them a little sense of empowerment. So anyway, let's look at this slogan and this principle and understand why it is so important in the prevention that we've been talking about. See, our children learn going from dependence to independence and then interdependence in the home. That's where they learn that very important process. For example, dependence is good when children are born and up until the age about 2 or 3 or 4 or somewhere in there where they have learned that they are very dependent upon us as parents. They need to be fed, they need to be changed, they need to be held, they need to be put to sleep, all the things that they depend on for us to do. And that's a good thing. But we know as parents, as they grow and get older, that they cannot continue to depend on us for everything. And so we begin to teach them to be independent. In other words, we start to say, no, you can clean it up yourself, or no, you can make your own bed, wash your own clothes, you can clean up your own room, and just things like that, where the reason we're doing that is to give them an understanding of responsibility, and sometimes they have to do things on their own and take it into their own initiative and do it for themselves, which is, again, a healthy thing. But then we also know that as they continue to grow, that none of us are an island unto ourselves, that we all need one another, and we learn the importance of interdependence. And all of these things are learned in the family. Now, the reason that this is important is because it helps us to teach them the concept of team, the concept of cooperation, which you know and I know is very important in our community. It's important in society, and it all starts in the family, to think like a team, to cooperate with one another, that we belong, and that we want to teach them that the first place they learn that, to belong to a team, to have cooperation, to interdepend on one another, is in their first family. Now, the important thing here, parents, is that if they don't learn it from us, if they don't learn these things that I just talked about, to depend, to be independent, and to interdepend on one another, if they don't learn it from us in the family, they're going to learn it in the street, or they're going to learn it from something that's called a gang. And a lot of people wonder, or sometimes want to define a gang. What is a gang? Well, very simply put, there's a lot of definitions for what a gang is. But what I've learned from my own personal life and what I've learned from talking with so many gang members is that a gang is nothing more than a family. But it's a second family. And that's the important point. You see, we want, as human beings, we want to belong so bad. And we want to feel needed to something so bad that we are willing to even get jumped in. That's what it takes to get in a gang, to be beat up for a period of time. Maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 2 minutes. But why would a kid do that? Think about it. why would I want to subject myself? Or nowadays, a lot of girls have to get sexed into the gang. In other words, they have to have sex with a member of the gang or different members of the gang. Now, why would a young girl want to do that? Why would I want to subject myself to getting beat up? You know why? Because human beings want to belong. We want to feel needed. And there's also something in psychology, something in our mind, that the harder it is to get into something, the more we want it. For example, fraternities and a thing called hazing. You know what that is. In college or in universities, they have these fraternities. And fraternities are it's like a club for men or for women, a sorority for women, fraternity for men. And what we've learned is that some of the initiation ceremonies are called hazing. What they have to go through, the things that they put them through, which I don't have time to get into all the crazy things, no sleep, all kind of crazy stuff that they do just to get into the fraternity. Now, why do they do that? They do that because, again, we want to belong. We want to feel needed so bad. Think about the cultural rites of passage that some cultures put their young kids through just to become a man. Some of those practices are pretty tough. Being left out in the wilderness, in the cold, with no food and no shelter. Just things like that. Rites of passage, but they do it because they want to belong. They want to feel important. They want to feel needed. See, and that's what all this is about. That's what everything that we've been talking about so far is about. It's about giving our kids that sense of belonging. It's about that nurturing them, the discipline, and all the things that I've already talked about, the training. It's about belonging because we want to send the message to our children that you count. Your life matters, and it matters here first, this family first. You are an important part of this family. So this slogan, the first family, is not in the White House, it's in my house, it's in your house. That's what this is about. It's about helping our children matter, belong, and understand that we want them to be an integral part of our family. So I could go on and on about this. It's so important that we instill this in our children, to give them that sense that they belong to something that's great, something wonderful, something that other people wish they had. And I want to give you now 3 principles. There's several different ones, but I've chosen 3 that I feel are very important and very doable to help you with this first family principle, as I call it. So get your pencil, get your paper ready. I want you to write it down and think about how you can instill or implement these things in your family in a very simple way. These things are what I call family-only events, and I'll explain what I mean. The first one is dinner time. Now, at dinner time, that is a time where we can begin to implement and instill this family first principle. And what I would suggest is that there's got to be times where we don't allow anybody else at the table. No friends, no family members, it's just us. Obviously, we should turn off the TV, no phone calls, no texting, no email, nothing but us just sitting down, eating together, and just talking and sharing with one another, having a conversation for a while, just kind of, shut everything down. And the reason that I suggest that we don't have anybody else there is because you and I know that when you have a family member or a friend over, the dynamics change in the house. Matter of fact, sometimes our kids get a little surprised at the way we act. Maybe we're so friendly and talkative, and they're just like, wow, Dad, I never knew you could be so friendly and talk so much. You don't do that when it's just us. Or maybe we're real quiet, and we don't express ourselves or joke around like we normally do, and they kids kind of trip out and say, wow, Dad, why are you so quiet? You're always joking around, you're always laughing, you're always making fun and having fun and a good time, but what happened? Well, the dynamics change, or sometimes our kids decide that they're going to show off, and they front us off, in front of their friends. They kind of talk back a little bit more, or say things or do things to their brothers or sisters that they normally wouldn't do, say things back to their mother, have an attitude, things that they normally wouldn't do, but again, because their friend is there, they want to kind of show off. And so the dynamic changes. Now, I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying or suggesting that you can never have family or friends over for dinner. Obviously, that's something that's very important. But what I'm suggesting here in this family first principle is that you take dinner time as one of those times where everybody else is shut out and shut off, and it's time for us to interact, get to know each other, build unity, camaraderie, and things like that. The second thing is vacation. Now, I realize maybe some of you say, wow, vacation, who can afford a vacation? I haven't been on vacation in years. And then others of you, you have a tradition of every year you take a family vacation, which is a great thing to be able to do. But either way, if you can't take vacations, then what you can do is establish a family night. Just one night a week. Even if that doesn't make sense, maybe one night every other week, where you get your wife and your children, or your just immediate family to commit and say, you know what, on this night we are going to spend time together, we're going to play games, or we're going to turn off the TV, or maybe you're going to watch a movie together, whatever it is. But the point is that there's nobody else there. On vacations, a lot of times my kids would ask me, hey, Dad, can I invite so-and-so? Whether they were a friend or family member. And sometimes I would say yes, but most of the time I would say no. And I said no for this very reason, because I wanted my children to know how to have a relationship with me, how to look me in the eye and talk to me as a son, as a daughter, how to look at their mother and talk to their mother and relate to her, and then again with one another. So dinner time, family time, or vacation time is a great opportunity to establish this. You belong here, you matter, this is your family, and we are in unity together before anybody else, and support each other and develop that family loyalty. And then, of course, the third principle is individual time. This is also very important. If you're like me, when I was raising my 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls, the boys were the oldest, and then 3 younger girls. But I realized it was important that I give each one of them my individual time and attention. And I know they appreciate it. Now, most of the time, your children are not going to ask for that. They're not going to, they might, but most kids are not going to say, hey, Dad, I just want to go with you to the show, or I just want you and me to go and go to the park or go to the zoo or do something fun. Just me and you. They might feel selfish saying something like that. But it's not being selfish, and there's nothing wrong with you initiating a date with one of your daughters, to just take her out, you and her go to dinner together and just have a time to just fool around or talk or go see a movie or have dinner, just anything, whatever it would be, go to a ball game. So that's another thing is very important, where it's just you and your son or you and your daughter, and you're spending that time. What's the point of that? Loyalty. Family first principle, camaraderie, rapport, relationship. And so I hope that those things, you might say, well, Richard, those are common sense things. Well, again, I got to say it again. Common sense isn't always common practice. The key is to do it, and to do it on a regular basis and consistently. And if you do these things, if you are consistent about it, you will see that your children develop a loyalty to you and your family activities, your family holidays, your family vacations, more than anybody and anything else, and that is precious. What does that all have to do with prevention? A whole bunch. Because believe me, when your children know that they matter, that they belong, that they are an important member that contributes to your family, they have no desire, they have no need to fill the void of unconditional love. It's already been filled. They already know they belong to a family. They don't need to go out and join a second family. They don't have to give away their loyalty to something else or to somebody else. They've already given it away. And what does that do? That gives them the strength to say no to the gang, to the drugs, to the sex, to whatever it is. And even if they go down that road, they try it or they experiment it, they're always going to come back to the foundation that we laid, because the first family is in our house. And they have that foundation, and they'll come back to it. I hope that helps you out. And in our next video, we're going to talk about the prevention principles in your community. And then we're going to follow that with Parent on a Mission prevention principles, what I call from the inside out, that are very, very important. And as a matter of fact, those last principles are the key to all of these principles. So, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.